Despite his modest appearance, a faded pair of Carcases, and a beloved blue sweater that his late wife Margaret had given him years ago, Robert Chen, 72, carried himself with quiet dignity as he entered Luxury Motors, clutching his worn leather wallet. His footsteps echoed on the gleaming marble floor. After 20 years of driving the same Toyota Corolla, Robert took a deep breath. He had saved for 2 years, and today was the day he would finally purchase his dream car, a brand new Mercedes-Benz S-Class. The $120,000 in his savings account represented years of self-control, sacrifice, and postponed gratification. "Can I help you?" A young salesman wearing an expensive suit came up to Blake, reading his name tag. His eyes showed a flicker of contempt as he gave Robert a once-over. "Yes," Robert said, pointing to a sleek silver sedan. "I'm interested in the S-Class." Blake chuckled while glancing at a close co-worker. "Sir, the Mercedes-Benz S-Class costs $110,000, but perhaps I could show you something more suitable. We have some lovely Sin-Li used Toyota vehicles." Blake's tone became patronizing as Robert's cheeks flushed, but he stayed calm. "I know the price. I'd want to test drive it, please." "We don't allow test drives without evidence of finances, so we can't spend time on window." Customers and a number of personnel hired by the exchange congregated in the area, obfuscating their amusement. A short while later, Derek Thompson, the sales manager, approached with a smug look and inquired, "Is there a problem here?" But his tone suggested Robert was the problem. "I've got the cash," Robert said softly as he took out his bank statements. "I've got the cash," Robert said softly as he took out his bank statements. "This is a luxury dealership that caters to a certain caliber of client, so I'm going to have to ask you to leave before you make our actual customers uncomfortable," Sir Thompson shouted loudly enough for everyone to hear, his hands shaking, not from age but from the sting of embarrassment. Robert remained still, his crumpled bank statements in hand, and the sound of his late wife's voice seemed to reverberate in his thoughts as the showroom reverberated with muffled laughter. "Character is revealed in the way you treat people who are incapable of helping you." Taking a deep breath. That evening, instead of having his usual cup of tea, Robert sat in his study surrounded by pictures and memories of Margaret. He dialed his son Michael, a successful investment banker in New York, and they did what Michael said, his voice crackling with anger. "It's fine, son. I'll go to another dealership," Robert said softly as he walked out the door. He paused and looked back. "I felt that true character is shown in how you treat others." "No, Dad, it's not okay. You work too hard to be treated that way," Robert retorted. "Did you know that when Michael stopped, the sound of frantic typing could be heard over the phone?" Robert had an idea. Luxury Motors is having trouble, and their parent company, Automax Corp., is trying to sell them off because of their bad customer service. And more recently, likely as a result of their bad customer service, they want to sell the dealership for $5 million, which is significantly less than market value given their inventory and property. Keep in mind that tech stock, it is currently worth over $8 million that you invested in 20 years ago. Robert's heart pounded. "Son, are you thinking the same thing I am?" Margaret had encouraged him to invest nearly all of their savings back when no one else did. Michael laughed and said, "I'll make some calls tonight, so we can finish the paperwork tomorrow." And Robert got up the following morning, wearing his finest suit from Margaret's funeral, and he brushed his silver hair beautifully before returning to Luxury Motors with his old briefcase. His strides were assured and solid. "Blake noticed him first, sir. I believe we made that obvious." "Greetings," Robert interrupted courteously. "Derek Thompson doesn't have time to see me, but I'm sure he'll find time." "Tell him strongly," Robert said. Robert Chen, Luxury Motors' new owner, is present. Whispers swept around the showroom, and Blake's face became white. Thompson was agitated as he hurried out of his office. "Well, what does this mean?" These are the ownership transfer documents that were signed this morning, and Robert carefully opened his briefcase and gave them to the recipient. Automax Corp was pleased to accept my offer, and as my first move as owner, Robert's voice held authority as he turned to the workforce. I'll be changing a few people. You have till the end of the day to tidy up your desks, Mr. Thompson, Mr. Blake, and everyone else who took part in yesterday's entertainment. Blake stumbled. Please, sir. Like many of the people you've probably embarrassed over the years, I have a family. As the fired employees packed their belongings, Robert said calmly, I suggest you reflect on that in your next job, because the person you look down on today might be signing your paycheck tomorrow. Finally, Robert walked over to the Silver S-Class he had admired the day before and said, with a slight smile, This will be my first purchase as owner. Robert addressed the remaining staff, saying, We're making changes from now on. Every customer will be treated with respect, regardless of their appearance or perceived wealth. We're implementing new training programs and a mystery shopper system to ensure this standard is upheld. Under Robert's leadership, Luxury Motors underwent a remarkable transformation over the next year. News of their exceptional customer service spread quickly, and sales soared. Robert introduced initiatives to help seniors navigate car purchases with ease and created a scholarship fund for underprivileged youth interested in automotive careers. Later that afternoon, Robert sat behind the wheel of his new Mercedes-Benz E-Class, breathing in the rich scent of leather and success. He placed Margaret's photo on the dashboard and smiled, whispering, You were right, my love. His emphasis was on fostering a culture of kindness and respect rather than merely numbers. Blake and Thompson's replacements was picked with consideration because of their capacity to handle each client with respect. About a year after the event, Robert made sure his team realized that success was about making a lasting favorable impression on everyone who entered their doors, not just about meeting sales goals. Incident. To their amazement, the new sales team showed her every car she was interested in after an elderly woman in modest dress entered the store. She turned out to be a wealthy widow who wanted to buy 3 cars for her grandchildren's college graduations. The dealership's success was satisfying, but the true triumph was the shift in culture. Every time he saw a customer leave with a smile, regardless of whether they made a purchase, he knew he had transformed a moment of embarrassment into a lasting legacy. Robert watched the sale unfold from his office and smiled at how far the dealership had come. His phone buzzed with a message from Michael. Proud of you, Dad. Mum would be too. Robert looked at Margaret's photo on his desk. Robert thought about how life had gone full circle as he drove home in his S-Class that evening. He smiled. Life had gone full circle as he drove home in his S-Class that evening. As he came into his driveway, he saw his old neighbor struggling with growing, and the sting of his shame had long since subsided and been replaced by the satisfaction of knowing he had accomplished something worthwhile. Bags for groceries. I saw you come up in that gorgeous car, and I've been thinking about getting a new one myself, but I'm hesitant about going to a dealership at my age. Thank you, Robert. He parked swiftly and offered to help. Robert grinned genuinely. I assure you that you will be treated like family because I am familiar with the location. Every morning before opening, Robert would walk through the showroom, straightening displays and making sure Margaret's framed quote hung prominently near the entrance. Character reveals itself in how you treat those you think can't benefit you. The story of Luxury Motors became a local legend, but for Robert, the greatest reward wasn't the dealership's profitability or proving his critics wrong. Rather, it was knowing that he had created a place where everyone, regardless of their appearance or background, would be treated with the dignity they deserved. Occasionally, a curious customer would ask about the quote, and Robert would smile. That's quite a tale, and I'll share it with you while we examine some cars. The message was clear to everyone who heard it. Wealth and success don't define a person's value, and karma has a way of going full circle. Most significantly, it served as a reminder that the best kind of retaliation isn't about getting even, but rather about making sure that others don't have to go through what you did. Though he heard that Blake and Thompson eventually got employment at other dealerships, Robert never saw them again. He hoped they had learned from their mistakes and treated their new customers better, because you never know who might be the next person to walk through your door. Regarding the S-Class, Robert Chen continued to drive it daily, maintaining it in immaculate condition. When people praised the car, he didn't discuss its opulent features or performance. Instead, he told the tale of a dealership where everyone was treated like a millionaire, whether they were or weren't. The conclusion of Robert's story wasn't about money or retaliation, but rather about respect, dignity, and the ability to transform a bad experience into a positive one. Instead of merely purchasing a dealership, Robert Chen provided a chance to making a small difference in the world. Robert would stroll around the silent showroom each evening before closing, one customer at a time. He would stop by Margaret's picture in his office, straightening a few pamphlets and rearranging a perfectly positioned automobile, and he would smile softly. If you found this story eye-opening and full of unexpected twists, you will see that luxury motors had evolved into more than just a business. It was a monument to treating people right, a legacy of compassion and respect that would outlast him, and that Robert recognized was worth more than all the luxury automobiles in the world. For more compelling stories that question the status quo and motivate change, remember to hit the subscribe button. Stay tuned for more tales of transgender information and lessons discovered the hard way.